Good evening, race fans, and welcome to continued coverage of PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge here, presented by Hagerty, courtesy of Podium Esports. James Blythe, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Taylor Burris, Racer Whiteford, our producer Ryan Bauer, with cameras provided to us this evening by Dougie Beard. It's time for the Sport Class race this evening, which is brought to you by Pirelli. And after an eventful first lap in our Challenge Class race, Taylor, I figure we're going to see maybe a few more side-by-side battles and competition, but I feel like that first race of the night underscored how tricky it is to get around this place, and maybe more importantly, how narrow this racetrack can be.
It certainly is, and as we saw in the challenge class here early on with the lap 1 turn 1 incident, hopefully these drivers can take note of that and realize, hey, try to get through that turn 1 and survive. Be a little bit smart and careful with the positioning of your car in order to try to put on a good show and a good race for everyone, and try not to, because what we saw was what happened was the field got way spread out, allowing drivers to pull away from the competitors. But we did see a couple of close battles, and I'm pretty sure with this class, they're learning from that, and a lot of good competitors will battle it out.
A lot of them will battle it out indeed as we take a look at the point standings and show you where your drivers are in this race, or at least the ones that are fighting for a place in the Zone Group Challenge Championship within the sport class. It is Will Waldron, Gregory Sampson, Thomas Lamai, your top 3 in points entering this evening. R.E. Moore Jr. is only 6 points back of Lamai for the final transfer spot into the Zone Group Challenge Championship. Adam Gerling, Sebastiano Balastrieri, Dean Chapman, Ronald Cahill, Antonio da Silva, James Legault, and Nick Paglia all in the mix too. So you've got a decent handful of drivers, but for the most part, I think it should be a very fun battle near the front, Rachel, with some of the best in PCA Sim Racing.
Yes, certainly are, of course, and we've seen one race here tonight at Road America, and it's been a wild one, so we're expecting hopefully still great action, but maybe a little bit less wild than the last one. Obviously, the speeds go up, the drivers go up as well as we go through these races tonight, but this track has already proved to be a challenge, and I look forward to seeing exactly how much of a challenge it proves in the next 3 races.
How tricky it may or may not be, I think, is going to be a very big question across the board. That's one we'll need to know this week. Bottom one with Carl Bucchiari and watch him get his way around Road America. He currently heading through the Kettle Bottoms and towards Canada Quarter, Taylor Burris, which I don't think it's the press that Turn 5 does in terms of level of difficulty, but this final section of the racetrack, as you see with Bucchiari, pretty clear and obvious visual just how tough it can be to get around here.
It certainly is. I mean, this track, even though it may look simple in some parts of this track, it's very difficult. You have a lot of changes as far as undulations, as well as elevation changes. I mean, look, we're now going uphill like you would almost on a roller coaster before it's going down the hill once again here as we head down across the front straightaway with Bob Moore coming across the line. It's going to be so far in 13th. But it's a lot of elevation changes, so it has to make sure that you hit your marks and make sure you stay on the tire or the racetrack. Otherwise, you'll end up in the grass, in the barriers, or in the sand traps where it could cost you a chance of victory or even damage your race car.
Look at him at Ken Tubman's cockpit and watching what the man out of Zone 5 for the Lone Star region can do. We know they will be a threat. Zone 5 covering most of Texas, and they have a long history of success in PCA Sim Racing. The inaugural champion, Billy Smith, is a Zone 5 member, as is the Series 5 champion of the Pro Class. Leif Peterson, also a Zone 5er. You'll see him competing a little bit later, but these drivers getting ready to roll their way through the final laps of qualifying and get set for the grid. Before we go racing in the sport class, we remind you that tonight's broadcast of the sport class is brought to you by our friends at Pirelli. Founded in Milan in 1872, and a global brand known for cutting-edge technology, high-end production excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tires and is an OEM supplier to Porsche. You can find out more information about Pirelli at www.pirelli.com. Pirelli, power is nothing without control. Just about set to go racing in the sport class, wrapping up the final few seconds of qualifying before we turn our attention to the starting grid and tell you where your favorite driver will begin this race. Dave Craig sets the fast time with a 1:59.642. Aaron Ambrosino will start from second. Gregory Sampson and Will Waldron are your two fastest of the non-qualified drivers. They'll start third and fourth. Fifth on the grid will be Orgun Garat. Daniel Rubel starts sixth. Seventh belongs to Ryan Korsniowski. George Markadakis. Greek Lightning starts in eighth. Ninth goes to Montaz Martini, and Thomas Doherty starts in 10th, Taylor.
In 11th, you'll find Paul Stoll, followed by Antonio De Silva in 12th with Keith Morgan in 13th. Bob Moore will be starting from 14th with Carl Bocchieri in 15th. Arnie Clayson in the 16th position, followed by Ken Tubman, 17th. Nick Paglia will be starting in the 18th position with Sebastiano Ballestieri in 19th. Thomas LeMay rounds out your top 20.
21st, of course, Adam Gerling with Ronald Cahill in 22nd, Drew Kenny in 23rd, Scott Lilly 24th, Ryan McGee in 25th with Tom Crane 26th, and Peter Yerxa in 27th.
That concludes your starting grid. Time to take a look at the track facts for this Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. A 4.048 mile, 6.515 kilometer circuit with 14 turns that opened in 1955. We go for 30 minutes plus one lap tonight. We will have the same standard weather conditions across all of our races this evening. So in sim, it's 9:30 a.m. local time, April 2nd, 2021. Air temp 67 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp 68 degrees Fahrenheit, winds headed to the north at 2 miles an hour, and humidity of 28%. That will set you up pretty nicely for 30 more minutes of racing, as Dave Craig and Aaron Ambrosino will be the ones responsible for leading us to the green when we go racing in just a few moments for our second race of the evening. This the sport class race presented by Pirelli for PCA Sim Racing, brought to you by Hagerty, as we get set to watch them go at it from Wisconsin in a few moments. Waiting for the pace lap to begin and kick off. They should roll any moment now, Taylor Burris, and they'll take off. Craig will get on the gas, and not too long before we go green.
Certainly not. We'll see that soon here momentarily. Pretty much as soon as they come out of this final corner, pace car will head down pit road, and we'll go at it for 30 minutes or 15 laps. And these drivers are going to give it 110% to try to see if they can have a shot of representing their zone in the Zone Group Championship. Pace cars off. We're about to go back green flag racing.
Dave Craig, Aaron Ambrosino responsible for leading us under the flag stand for the first time. Green flag racing here at Road America. And Ambrosino got a better start than Craig, but Craig will have the inside unless Aaron Ambrosino will clear Craig going into turn one, which he may well just. But we have to watch out for any incidents maybe a little bit further back. That's what we saw in the first race of the night. Is it going to be wild in the second? I think not. For the most part, everybody looks pretty good, and they will hang tight for the most part. And indeed, it is a cleaner run. So Ambrosino to the outside of Craig, who's hanging on, but he's just not quite where he needs to be in order to get the run into turn 5 and complete the pass. There goes Ambrosino to the front, so the man who started second will control this field entering turn 5 for the first time.
Yeah, certainly are, and a big pass there by Ambrosino up the inside into 5. A great passing opportunity as it spreads out coming to the exit now, climbing to the Corvette Bridge. And a great lead he just gained there from the time as the guys behind him sit side by side, which is going to really cost him a lot of time around this track. You never want to be running that close to each other, but the field so far getting through very cleanly. I think they all watched the first one, although we have had Gerling has gone backwards here. I think he had a bit of a moment to himself. We had a little small issue coming out of 5 with a couple of cars, but in general, 1 or 2 car incident.
So to the battle for the top 2 drivers that aren't qualified will go. As you see some of these wide sweeping shots, you get a good sense of just how tough the carousel is and how big and how much the elevation changes. Like Rachel said earlier on this evening, it really is a significant 2-story drop to get you down there. But we'll look at some of these scenics and keep an eye on Will Waldron and Gregory Sampson, which is the closest battle of note. These two are the top 2 that have not already qualified for the Zone Group Challenge Championship next month. And of course, as always, it's the top 3 in the point standings at the end of these 4 races, regardless of zone. amongst the drivers who have not already qualified that will add their names to the list. So we may see some zones have 5 or 6 drivers represented in their respective classes. Zone Group Challenge Championship races as Waldron got a great run on Aaron Ambrosino. You look just ahead at the window of Gregory Sampson and now off the rear wing of Ambrosino. But a good one for Will Waldron. He will immediately get to second, clear Ambrosino, and put some distance between he and Gregory Sampson, and now Sampson is going to get to the inside because Ambrosino was checked up by Waldron running wide through turn 2, and then Ambrosino gets out the marbles, and Waldron and Sampson will both pass Ambrosino and go to second and third.
Certainly will, as they get a good run down out of turn 3, heading into turn number 5 as they work their way down through the Moraine sweep, heading downhill once again. Here we will see, can Ambrosino try to pull a power move to the inside? Not better of it, and goes through as we see. Looks like one of the drivers, Organ Gorlap, goes a little bit wide right there as we see Ambrosino mess up the corner a little bit as Sam.
Oh, Waldron went sideways in 6. Waldron lost it all by himself, and he gets hit by one of the other cars coming around, but Waldron just got on the gas too quickly over in turn 6 and put himself in the fence and in a world of trouble. It was a tough break for Waldron, but you'll take a look at the replay, see what happened coming up the hill. Not to say that Gregory Sampson almost had a moment. He was sideways too, but as they come up the hill, you'll see it here, just a little bit too much front brake and a little bit too quick to get back to the gas for Will Waldron, who goes sliding sideways, bumps, and then contact here just a little bit further back. You see the nose of Waldron's white Porsche 911 slide over, and now Waldron, after running in second, is all the way down to 24th, and that could shake up the point standings significantly, especially amongst the drivers who are not qualified for the Zone Group Challenge Championship.
Yeah, that's going to really change things, of course, but Waldron did the one thing which I've been hoping more drivers would do. As soon as he realized he was sideways in the middle of the track, he put it in reverse and got off the track. Once drivers had obviously gone around him, he had a small contact, of course, but best thing there, he cleared the track, which is important to make sure. Yeah, Sampson's just an issue from 4th place. That was final corner there.
So there goes Gregory Sampson off. Looks like it happened right at the exit of turn 14, which will kill your momentum down the front straight. We'll see what's happened to Sampson momentarily, and indeed comes up through the turn 13 section and through the final corner of the racetrack and just never had a chance. Never had a chance, locking up the brakes there on corner entry, and did a nice job to save it, not lose too much time and not hit anybody, but it means that Sampson falls back from 2nd to 8th. And it now means that we may have a new face ahead of everybody as far as the non-qualified drivers go, looking to see who may be the one to take advantage. And I wonder, actually, no, I think Sampson may have actually hung on to the lead amongst that group.
Certainly so, as we see a couple more cars lock up their brakes as they come out of turn number 5. As we see them heading up underneath turn 6. Greg Sampson, big implications for him as he was having such a good run here early. As he is, he is leading out of the non-drivers who have yet qualified for the Zone Group Championship.
I thought that maybe, just maybe, Sampson had lost the lead amongst the non-qualified drivers with that incident, but instead he maintains it. And just looking down the list, I believe it's Ronald Cahill who is now 2nd, and Thomas Lamai who is in the 3rd spot amongst the drivers not already qualified. So that's 8th, 11th, and 12th overall as we look at P7. This is, I believe, Lantas Mondini and Sampson, where we saw him to try and make something happen.
Yeah, trying to find what he can with this one, but at the moment, just looking a little bit, bit of a moment just there. It was not Keith Morgan, sorry.
No, Sampson again. Sampson again, indeed, who just about clipped Ken Tubman and Arnie Klassen. So Sampson sliding backwards, and now it is the top 3 amongst the non-qualified drivers. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We'll see what happened to Sampson again, but another very quick little off, this time over by Canada Corner, Taylor.
They certainly are. As they make the run over towards Canada Corner, you will see Gregory Sampson trying to, you'll see the contact right there, head of the Canada Corner. He hit the wheel hopped a little bit, has to gather it back up, loses multiple positions, and does a great job of recovering it completely well. Still lost a ton of positions.
Running on board with Gregory Sampson so we can see what happened here, and I think almost was thrown off by the Yeah, it was a big catch for Sampson, but I think he was almost thrown off by the closing rate that he had on the car in front of him. I don't think he expected to get that much of ground, or gain that much ground rather, through the center of the corner, especially at a place like Canada Corner where you are going uphill and the acceleration can be difficult, to say the least, as we go atop Thomas Lamai's machine, currently riding in the 12th position and just behind Ronald Cahill and Arne Clausen, and not too far back of Gregory Sampson. Again, 9th, 11th, and 12th. Sampson, Cahill, Lamai, your top 3 non-qualified drivers as it stands.
Yeah, certainly pushing what they can here, as it's been a very, very busy one. We've had a lot of small moments here, but overall the field's doing really, really great at the moment. And at the moment, Ambrosio's catching up towards Gerlach at the front, with Rule right behind him. So we're looking at a potential 3-car battle here for the podium spots in maybe a lap.
Potentially. It could be very entertaining to see how it goes, as we'll keep our eyes on the battle amongst these drivers. Also of note, pretty good battle for third, too, that we shouldn't lose sight of. We look at P5, this is Ryan Korsniowski, but he's just back of Daniel Rubel and Aaron Ambrosino, who had maintained their track position. Ambrosino had that wild first lap where Will Waldron and Gregory Sampson both got around to him, but as they made mistakes, he kept his car clean, and now he is sitting in third, just ahead of Daniel Rubel and Korsniowski. These three all on a line, all separated by about maybe a second and a half as they enter turn 1.
Here they go into turn number 1 right now. They're actually gaining ground on Organ Gorlap as well, the second place car, as they come into turn number 3, heading down the Moraine Sweep. As we see, those 3 drivers are on board with Gerlach as they come down the Moraine Sweep, running in P2. The gap's about 1.81 seconds between him and Ambrosino as they head down towards turn number 5. But still, one small mistake could cost a chance for Gerlach to stay in that second position, and for Ambrosino to attack, as here comes Rubel as well as Krasnetsky as they dive it into turn 5. Out of turn 5, heading uphill to turn number 6. They're still going to be single file.
Still single file, maybe a little bit tighter than they were, but still a very good battle potentially. And Orgun Gerlach is not too far ahead of this group either. Let's not forget that. So this is effectively almost a 4-car train fighting for 2nd through 5th.
Yeah, certainly are, and they're really pushing for this one here. It's a great battle, actually, as we're trying to see these drivers outwit each other and find an opportunity to make a pass here. Rubel's looking at the one that's most likely to make something happen here in the 25 car. He's right up behind Ambrosino, and I think he's got an opportunity to do something, maybe into Canada or maybe down the front straight.
On board with Rubel, who may have the move on Ambrosino if he sets it up nicely into Canada Corner. Instead, he'll wait for his moment, and maybe it'll come out of turn 14, just depending on the way you get runs here as they pass the one lap machine that's just sort of off in the way. But you may set it up and may get the really nice setup somewhere over in 14, but not with the way Ambrosino ran through Thunder Valley. He opened up the gap by about maybe 5 or 6 car lengths. Really impressive stuff from Ambrosino to stretch that gap that far in that short amount of track.
He certainly has, James, as they work their way down the front straightaway. He's actually made up some ground on second place Organ Gerlach, and actually was about half a second faster than Gerlach as they dive into turn 1, though. Watch the battle for 4th position as well. Krasnetsky able to make up some big-time gains on Daniel Rubel as they dive it into turn number 3. 4 cars, nose to tail, battling for a chance at a podium.
4 cars indeed fighting for it as Gerlach still has control of this group. Otherwise, not too many other battles this tight amongst the group. Bob Moore, Ronald Cahill, Adam Gerling pretty tight. Gregory Sampson, Ken Tubman, and then Arne Clausen and Thomas Lamai also pretty tight. But it is definitely 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th the battle you want to be paying attention to at this moment.
Yeah, that's exactly where it is. But we've been joined by Kornowski as well at the back of that one there. Paul Salt isn't exactly far behind, so we're starting to get a real grouping here. In fact, Mardini also coming up there as well, so we could really see this thing bunching up. If they decide to fight, then it's going to get really close.
Waiting to see whether or not anybody blinks amongst this group. Remember, we had that great battle, I think it was in the club class at Sonoma, where you had a group just like this, 4 drivers who were pushing on the edge, absolutely all over it, trying to figure out whether or not somebody can make a mistake, whether or not someone was going to slip, and they all maintained their positions, but it was just a really high level of competition, which, in fairness, is what we're used to in PCA sim racing, but still impressive to see nonetheless this quartet working their way through Canada corner. Little bit of a slip up, though. I think that might have been Kozianski, who I saw a puff on the brakes just the slightest bit and went wide, and you can see how much damage that's done to his gap now. Maybe about 6 or 7 car lengths back to Daniel Rubel, who in turn is trying to gain on Ambrosino.
Certainly so. Dave Craig, however, as you see him on screen, has had a dominating performance here tonight. The only driver to be in the 2-minute mark here, running on race pace right now, but still showing a little bit of slowdown speed. Last time he ran a 2:03, was 2 seconds slower than Gerlach as well as Ambrosino. He was the slowest inside the top 5 drivers, so he's got to make sure he still keeps up that pace right now as we keep an eye on our drivers who are trying to guarantee them a spot into the Zone Group Championship that's currently held by Gregory Sampson, Thomas LeMay, and Sebastiano Ballestieri.
It is Sampson, Levi, and Ballestieri who are still running about where they had been. 8th, 10th, 11th in this race. Those are your top 3 amongst the non-qualified drivers, are the ones that we'll be speaking to, in addition to your overall winner, which right now is still Dave Craig. He's clear of Olunga route by about 6.5 seconds, so you've got a few battles to pay attention to, as Sampson is going to be able to clear Montez Mardini and go up to 7th, so that's another position for him in this race.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's, like I said, getting really, really tight with this one. Him, Salk, and Koronowski on top of each other, whilst Rubel, Ambrosino, and Gerlach are pretty close as well. Like I said, if the top 3 up there in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th start fighting, this next 3 behind them will close up and join that group, and then we'll have a 6-car grouping. Craig will love this. He will be running off into sunset. He's got a 6-second head start right now, and that'll only open up if they begin to fight.
It is Salk, who is in the last car or the first car rather, in the second pack, who is trying to hold off Gregory Sampson, who's going to go for it in Canada corner, and they bounce off each other, and Salk tried to turn down into Sampson, and they both go wide, so that's going to allow Mardini and Tubman to clear Paul Salk. But that was a big move from Gregory Sampson. Might be able to get a replay of that going into Canada corner and see just what happened and how aggressive that was, but solid, and in fairness, a nice move down to the braking zone for Sampson to get to the inside. I don't think Salk respected it, but excellent racecraft there from Sampson to see the gap and make it happen. He ducks in right there, maybe a little bit late, but he certainly was there by the time they got to the apex.
He certainly was, James, and what a great job to get the car back under control. We'll have to keep track to see if he's able to hold on to that 6th position right now, but here's another chance on board replay with Mardini, as you'll see what happens via his angle as they work their way towards Canada corner. You'll see the contact right there. He'll duck to the inside, get around his competitors, and then he gets a little held up by Gregory Sampson, but Paul Salk, a tough break for him, losing a couple of spots.
I don't think Salk anticipated Sampson being alongside him at all. He looked like he was just apexing as he normally would, so maybe not the biggest of surprises, as now we see, nearly a moment between Mardini and Sampson through turn 5. It was very close there, and Mardini had to get on the brakes hard to make sure he didn't run into Sampson the same way Salk and Sampson got into it just a few corners ago.
Yeah, certainly are, and it's definitely been getting very close with this one. Mardini's got to be careful where he's at, though, because Tubman behind him could definitely get involved in this one. In fact, he's actually a lot closer right now. Salk, well, yeah, he's unfortunately fallen back now considerably, but Tubman definitely looking English, I promise I can speak it, is looking like he has an opportunity to really get in here, and Mardini's going to have to watch it because he's going to be trying to go deeper now to fight off Tubman, and that might make him make a mistake on Sampson.
Potentially, but as we cross the midway portion of this race, time to bring you our second midway race report, which is brought to you for the sport class by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. Dave Craig well clear of everybody in this. It's a 7-second lead for the man in the red and black 996 numbered Porsche. It is the 911 RSR GTLM machine in control of this from Zone 2 in the Keystone region. Ogun Garat running in the second spot, part of the Rally Sport Region Zone 4 of the PCA. He rides in second. Third is where you'll find Aaron Ambrosino out of the Hudson Champlain region. Yet again, another Zone 1 driver who's having a great run. Daniel Rubel currently holds the fourth position. The number 25 machine hanging out there just ahead of Ryan Korzniowski, who holds P5 as it stands. The Rocky Mountain region, Zone 9, maybe a little bit underrepresented compared to some of the other zones in this class, but solid performance for him. Gregory Sampson up to sixth and still your leader amongst the non-qualified drivers out of the Maverick region. Yet another Zone 5 driver out of Texas. Montez Mondini out of the Orange Coast region, Zone 8 at Southern California, and he runs in the seventh position. Good ride for him tonight here at Road America. Ken Tubman, surprise, surprise. Oh, Lone Star region there. He's going to go up to seventh as Martini smacks the fence. Big incident for Martini, and we'll make sure we cover some of the drivers just behind him. Paul Solk currently in the eighth spot now after Martini incident over in the hurry downs, it looked like. And then it is Thomas Lamai out of Zone 1 at P9 out of the Northeast region near Boston, and Mardini has slid back to 10th, Taylor.
Carl Berchieri is currently sitting in the 11th position, the Metropolitan New York region driver, Zone 1, looking to see if he can find his way up into one of those top three non-zone finishers. Peter Yurtsa is right behind him in P12 from the Down East region. He's in Zone 1 as he's trying to find a way in through the field to get a good top 10 finish here today at Road America. In the 13th position, Arnie Clayson from the San Diego region, West Coast driver out here in Zone Group 8 as he's trying to work his way up through the field, having a great run in that silver, red, and black Porsche as they come out of the Canada corner. P14, you'll find Thomas Dotery from the Central Indiana region, Zone 4, as he is in car 59, that blue Porsche working his way through Thunder Valley. Approaching the final couple of corners, he is guaranteed a spot to represent his zone. Ronald Cahill from the Northeast region is currently in 15th position, car number 9, having a quiet night right now as he's worked his way up through the field, starting in 22nd, so a good run for him. Adam Gerling from the Metropolitan New York region, car 248, that's silver and I would almost say purplish color. Started in 22nd, he's worked his way up into the 15th position, started in the 21st position, is currently ranked 16th, so a good recovery run for him right now. 17th is Nick Paglia from the Nordstern region, of course the North Star for the German, a translation of that, as they work their way Zone Group 10, car number 8, as he's come across the start-finish line in 17th. 18th position goes to Tom Crane from the Mardi Gras region, of course home in Louisiana, and Zone Group 5, 864 is the car number. 19th, the first car one lap down, I believe, as Bob Moore in car 772, having a quiet night, having struggled a little bit in the early going after starting in 14th. And then rounding out your top 20, Metropolitan New York region driver Sebastiano Ballestieri.
21st place tonight will be Ryan McGee in the 944 from the Nordstern region, zone number 10. He's currently up 4 positions from where he started, 1 lap down. In 22nd, we have Keith Morgan. Oh, no, we have Will Waldron, after his incident earlier on, car 10, from the Hudson Champlain region, zone number 1, and trying to fight his way back to something he can try and use. Behind that's Keith Morgan, 23rd. He's checked in already with the 700 car from the Central Indiana region, zone number 4. Also trying to back 1 lap down. It's Antonio De Silva at 24th from the 24 car. That fits. Metropolitan New York region zone number 1. He's technically down about 12 places from an early incident. Scott Lilly is 25th in the 45 car from the Connecticut Valley region, zone number 1. Also battling back after early incidents. George Makadakis is behind them in 26th place. He's no longer running, and neither is Drew McKinney.
And that completes your midway race report for this, the sport class, the PCA, which is brought to you by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. Dave Craig still your leader with about 8 minutes and change left to go in this second race of the evening. Amongst your non-qualified drivers, it's Gregory Simpson, Thomas Lamar, and Carl Bucchieri has jumped up into the 11th spot and taken over the third and final spot on the podium amongst that group as we look at some of the battles on the racetrack and watch some of the great action that you've seen. This is Daniel Rubel in third, just ahead of Aaron Ambrosino and Ryan Kozlowski. We've seen this group together pretty much all night, Taylor.
I think Taylor's dead, but yeah, it's been exactly like this all night. And you know what? This one's definitely had some real suspense to it, especially with some of these battles we're seeing towards the front end. And it's been much more intense than the last round, but then again, we had more cars running on the lead lap in this one. It's definitely changed how I think this will go in the later races. I think we're going to see a lot more battling towards the front with places like Canada Corner, Turn 1, Turn 5 becoming much more critical zones.
Have to believe that at some point, we're going to see something amongst this group. Third, fourth, fifth, they've been all over each other all night long, at least in this particular race, as Ambrosino, Kozlowski, and Rubel are the survivors of a battle that's involved quite a few people. Montas Mardini was up here. Gregory Sampson, incidentally, is up to 6th, though. He's had a nice recovery after spinning out a P3. Better night than Will Waldron, who was also there with him at the beginning of this race and spun and got himself in trouble. Waldron's got his car fixed up. Problem for him is that he's a lap down and running in 21st, so it'll be a certain points hit for Waldron this evening at Road America as Sampson looks to maintain his position in the point standings and make sure he gets himself into the Zone Group Challenge Championship as we'll turn to Montas Mardini, Carl Bucchieri, and Peter Yerxa. That trio running 10th, 11th, and 12th as you look off the rear wing of Mardini, currently in 10th.
Mardini's trying everything that he can to hold off the hard charge of Carl Bucchieri as they come out of turn number 3, heading underneath the Sargento Bridge right now. We see Bucchieri trying to get a good run down this moraine sweep before they head over to turn number 5 as you're on board with Carl. He may take a peek to the inside. Will he try to send it? No, thinks better of it. Going to hold on to his position. But here comes a big send from Peter Yerxa as they come out of turn 5 up the hill underneath the Corvette Bridge to turn number 6. So a great drive for these 3 drivers putting on a good show.
Same sort of deal, I think, that we talked about earlier, where it's a question of who blinks first. Maybe a little bit different here, and maybe okay, so we might see an incident amongst these drivers. Of note, the difference between this trio and the one up ahead with Rubel and Ambrosino and Kozlowski, all 3 of these drivers have some form of damage on their machine. Well, 2 of the 3, rather. I take that back. Peter Yerxa is the only one with a clean car here, but even still, these drivers in the back a little bit more prone to mistakes, maybe not quite as quick, and if we're looking for a chance for maybe some variation, an incident in the late going, it might be this trio at 10th, Rachel, that we see it happening.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be exactly where we see this happen. And they've been pretty close together, although Mardini's gone backwards in order here. He's still running with this group right now. Bucchieri and Yerxa really pushing for this one. It's looking like it could be a lot closer than we thought it might be. But we've still got a couple of laps left to go in this thing. And maybe 2 looking at the time, I'm thinking, with how these guys have been running about 2-minute laps. We've got a car with a slowdown there. We can let people pass.
Car with a slowdown there, and I believe if we slide a little bit further back, it's just Ryan McGee, the lap machine. So not really anything to affect these drivers as they continue to fight for position, but of note, maybe now really just dead even pretty much on lap times. Yerxa was a 10th of a second faster than Mardini and Bucchieri in the second group that we watch now. In that first group, it was Kozlowski, who was a 10th faster than Ambrosino and Rubel just ahead of him. So maybe slight variations in lap time, but they are just about dead even here.
They certainly are as they work their way past the Sargento Bridge, heading down over towards turn number 5. Right now, it's practically a train of cars heading into turn 5. Let's see how the action goes through here as Peter Yerxa went a little bit wide, locks up the brakes a little bit. That'll allow Arnie Clayson as well as the rest of the field to close up that gap. I believe have a lap car behind Peter Yerxa as well, so we don't have to really worry about him. He's trying to continue on his way, stay out of the way of these lead lap cars battling for position.
Bryce here on Peter Yerkes, and think,
Oh, gosh.
yeah, maybe a little bit of inspiration from a certain cartoon there, Rachel. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. That is cool. I've only seen a couple of cartoon-inspired cars in the past, and I like this one. Taz is fantastic. Yeah.
Tasmanian Devil for those uninitiated or uninitiated. How about uninitiated? Because English is clearly my strong suit tonight as well. But
Join the club.
yeah, I was about to say, Taylor,
We're all just like losing it tonight.
your ability to wordify and brainificate is bouncing off of my frontal lobe, I guess. But
I guess so. Well, I think we might need some of Rachel's coffee.
I'm about to say, yeah, Rachel, can you like put some in like a vaporizer and send it across the sea or something?
Yeah, I'll email you some.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, we can do that in 2021. Coffee definitely counts as an attachment. I like that. Smart thinking. Smart thinking. So, just looking here and waiting to see if we see any sort of movement amongst those drivers and the two groups that we talked about. Not really too many other battles on track to speak of. Outside of maybe Nick Padley and Adam Gerland, but that would be all the way down in 16th and 17th. And Arnie Clausen and Thomas Doherty also in a good battle here. We're going forward with Doherty out of the Central Indiana region and Arnie Clausen out of the San Diego region. But Doherty out of the Central Indiana region, which covers Indianapolis, which for those who enjoy a certain sport that involves a orange ball, pretty important place in the world at this time of year. So we'll keep our eyes peeled and see how this all pans out. Taylor Bryce.
Certainly so. As we watch, it looks like one of the cars went a little bit, checking up the brakes a little bit as you're on board with Thomas Doherty, as they work their way through turn number 6. Still can't talk right. We'll continue on our way and see as they work their way through turn number 7 into the hurry downs as they come through there. Carl Bucchieri trying to see if he can hold off Thomas Doherty as a big checkup as well for Doherty and the lap car in front of them as they head underneath the Road America Bridge through the carousel. We'll see if Doherty can hold on and get a good run off there to try to see if he can propel past Bucchieri and work his way up into the 12th position.
Yeah, just wanted to pop in here, Taylor, because I'm sorry, James says, Ambrosino just didn't quite get the corner right out of Canada, and rather than run off, he slowed down significantly, which let Koronowski get through there pretty much unchallenged.
So it's Garal and Rubel and Koronowski and Ambrosino in that order now, and then Sampson, who's about 7.5 seconds back as Ambrosino goes off the racetrack once again over in turn 3. Sampson's still got some time to gather it up. More importantly, though, Dave Craig's taking the white flag, and he's looking for yet another victory in PCA Sim Racing.
He certainly does as we watch on and see Daniel Rubel trying to find a way around his competitors as you see Dave Craig on screen, just having to take this white flag lap here and smooth sailing. But we got that battle though for P2 still going on. Oregon Gerlach and Daniel Rubel heading down through the hurry downs into turn number 8. You're on board with Gerlach as they head to the braking zone. Will Gerlach hold off? He will this time. Through the carousel they'll go. Ryan Krasneski watches on. He's in the popcorn position. If these two were to get together, we could see Ryan Krasneski get a good finish here today at Road America. So keep an eye on that as well as they come towards the kink.
They come towards the kink, and through it, Dave Craig is just ahead of this group, but he is working his way through Canada Corner for the final time up through Thunder Valley to turn 13 and turn 14. And yet again, just as it was for Robert Rose in the challenge class and the sport class, it is no question who the driver of the beat is in this round of the zone group challenge. Dave Craig out of turn 14 for the final time, and Craig will go back to back just like Robert Rose did. He will win the sport class of the PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge. Round 3 of 4 in this qualifying round to Craig as the battle for P2 goes to Argun Garaup ahead of Daniel Rule and Ryan Korsniowski. Ambrosino will have to settle for 5th.
Yeah, a very, very good race from these guys here, and overall, clean, very clean. We had a couple of little incidents. A lot of them, though, were single car spins that led to those things, so no real contact between vehicles this time around.
Not much contact whatsoever as we wait for The final car to come around and finish off his lap, and I believe that's going to be, Adam Gurley, if I've got my numbers correct. These drivers now beginning to finish off their races. Alonso Martini, Peter Yerkscher, Pelbocchieri already done and dusted, and just waiting for the final few drivers to come around and wrap it up.
Certainly so, as Adam Gerling comes up through Thunder Valley, or Thunder Hill, or as he comes to the final corner for the last time here. Checker flag is out for him. He'll come home in a 17th position. I'm pretty sure he's going to be looking forward to seeing if he can make some improvements at Sebring.
He comes across the line, finishes off the race, finishes off the cars that need to come across the line to finish off the sport class race, and now allows us to turn to the full field rundown, which looks like this. Dave Craig is the man in control of this. Orgun Goral finishes second. Third goes to Daniel Rubel. Ryan Korzeniowski got the fourth spot at the end of it. Fifth went to Aaron Ambrosino. Gregory Sampson finished in P6. Top finisher amongst the non-qualified drivers. You'll hear from him in a moment. Kev Tubman and Paul Soap were 7th and 8th. Thomas Lamine, 9th overall, second amongst the non-qualifiers. We'll talk to him as well. Montez Mardini finishes in 10th.
In the 11th position will be Peter Yerksa, followed by Carl Boccieri in 12th. Well, he's the third finisher who was drivers who did not get the check mark or have the highest finish. We will talk to him later on. Thomas Doherty will be coming home 13th, followed by Arnie Clayson in 14th. 15th, Ronald Cahill, followed by Nick Paglia in 16th. 17th, the last car on the lead lap, Adam Gurling. And then the first car one lap down, Tom Crane, followed by Bob Moore in 19th. Will Waldron rounds out your top 20.
21st tonight is Ryan McGee with 22nd, Sebastian Ballastieri with Keith Morgan 23rd, Antonio De Silva 24th, Scott Lilly 25th, George Makadakis in 26th, and Drew Kenny 27th.
Wraps up your full field rundown and set to rock and roll with all the people we need to chat with. Let's start though with Greg Simpson, who had a wild race to say the least. Gregory, just first the beginning, and then once you put yourself in that hole to find the fight back, to drive up back to P6 after you were down as low as about 10th, I think. How did your mindset evolve as this race progressed?
Oh boy, I mean, let's just start talking about this track. This track takes no prisoners. But look, I worked really hard. I luckily have a great group of zone teammates that kind of helped me get used to the track, and just throughout the week to kind of put the work in to get the speed. I just was struggling for the consistency, as you guys saw there. This track, just one little thing can just send you flying. A couple other guys definitely paid a higher price. I think I got lucky and scraped away there, but overall, great race, great race by the zone in general.
A big race for you, a big race for Zone 5, and also more importantly, you should go into next week pretty close to the top of the point standings. At minimum, you'll be second. You'll be tight, though, with Will Waldron, who struggled this evening, finished 20th overall, so it'll tighten up the battle a bit. But at the end of the day, I guess the big thing is just making sure you're top 3 in points, yeah? Yeah,
totally. I think, these zone challenges are all about just making sure that you get points on the board versus trying to get first. We'll see in the championship rounds, really where it gets a little bit more cutthroat. But, we got a lot of tough guys in these races. Got to, stay focused and make it to the championship before you start thinking about it.
Sebring, final track in this round of the championship. Flat, bumpy, tricky, interesting. What's your take on where we're going to head next Friday night?
I mean, I've learned to love Sebring. I think after the team event there, the PCA team event, and all the work there, I'm excited for it. I know there's the race in real life there this weekend too, so there should be a lot of hype going into that race next week, so I'm excited.
Gregory, congratulations on being the top finisher amongst the drivers outside of the group that's already qualified for the Zone Group Challenge Championship of the sport class. Thanks for the time. We'll see you down in Florida next Friday night.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you Podium. Thank you PCA. Thank you Hagerty. Look forward to next week. Thank you.
Gregory Sampson tops amongst our non-qualified drivers and 6th overall in the sport class race this evening. Second amongst that group, Thomas Lamay finished 9th overall. He's with Taylor Burris.
Here was Thomas Lamay coming home 9th overall and having a great run here. Of course, the second highest finisher out of those who have yet to get into the Zone Group Championship. Thomas, your thoughts on racing here?
Oh, I mean, it was a blast to race up this track, and really just super glad to have a clean race. And I tried to be conservative and stay out of the mess, but yeah, super excited.
We look ahead to Sebring. Your thoughts on competing at such a historic track as we leave here, another historic track here at Road America. What is your preparation in getting ready for Sebring?
Well, it's largely going to be spending a lot of time to get the car set up. So I'm still kind of new to the whole iRacing thing with PCA, and I spent basically all day yesterday trying to dial in the car for Road America, and it really paid off, and that's where I need to spend the time the rest of the week.
Well, before we let you go and celebrate this strong finish for you here today, Thomas, is there anyone you'd like to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Oh, absolutely. My family who's watching and supporting me in the living room right now, and also, Northeast Region PCA, who's given me all the great instruction over the years with DE and more recently in the sim racing group.
Of course, that is Thomas LeMay coming home P9 and your second highest finisher here today, as that we may actually have a couple of drivers from Group Zone 1, Jim Huth, and of course the next driver who is working his way up here to be interviewed, Carl Boccieri. He is with Rachel.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Carl, a great race today. Came home 3 places up from where you qualified, of course, and not being locked in, more places, more prizes.
Well, I was very happy about that, especially since I got tagged on the first lap and lost a lot of places.
Yeah, it can be difficult to regain that sort of track position, of course, but Road America being a very challenging and quite narrow track, it makes it much harder, doesn't it, to gain spots?
Yeah, well, I actually got lucky because it seemed to be that a lot of guys were having trouble in front of me, so I picked off a bunch of people because they actually made mistakes. So I had a pretty mistake-free race, which really was good for me.
Sometimes that's the best thing, is to have a good, clean race and just let everybody else make those mistakes. Of course, with this going on, are you looking forward to the next race?
Yeah. I don't know where I'm going to be in the points, probably someplace in the middle. But, with this good race, I'll have to look. Hopefully I can, at least challenge for one of the spots.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
Just my friends. We have a little club, the Pegasus Racing Club. So my friend George Makadakis and Sebastiano Ballesteri, they're the guys that help me practice all the time. So they should get some credit too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us. Carl Boccieri coming home today in 3rd in the unqualified drivers and 12th overall.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
One more man to speak with. Ted Craig gets it done 2 weeks in a row, just like Robert Rose in the challenge class. And is this practice, or is this more about trying to send a message to everybody in advance of the Zone Group Challenge Championship? You're already qualified, so you don't have to be racing in this. But here you are. You're still cranking out laps, cranking out victories. So is this about making the point to everybody else in this class in PCA Sim Racing that you are a threat to win the outright title and try and get your zone tops amongst the list when we get to the championship in a few weeks' time?
Well, I think it's just about practice and getting reps. This is a tough group. Everybody here is an excellent driver. So, if you sit out a few weeks, you're going to fall behind, I think. So for me, this is just practice, seeing what other guys are doing, getting comfortable working around them. And yeah, it's fun opportunity to get out there and show what you can do. And I wanted to thank the Porsche Club for putting it together. I mean, this is an amazing series, and it's a lot of work by the organizers. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate our sponsors, Hagerty Motorsports and Pirelli. It's been a rough year with the pandemic, not being able to get together with people so much. So this has just been a really fun thing with friends and family being able to tune in and watch and race together. So I appreciate that. The support from the group, and I also want to thank my wife for all the support she gives me.
Sebring coming up next week. You're going to try and make it 3 for 3 and establish yourself in advance of the championship?
I'll do my best. For whatever reason, Sebring's not a good track for me. I feel like I drive really well there, but the stopwatch says otherwise. So we'll see what happens. Tonight was a close race for sure. Oregon and Dan, awesome job on the podium, and one mistake by me and they're going to be out front. So I'll do my best at Sebring and we'll see what happens.
Congratulations, Dave, on your second victory in a row. We look forward to seeing you at Sebring next Friday night.
All right, thanks very much, guys.
that concludes our coverage of the second race of the evening. The Sport Class presented by Pirelli is done and dusted. So for those of you on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel, time to hit the blue button on the bottom left, slide over to the club video, the club class video, that is, and we'll get set for our third race of the evening from Road America PCA Sim Racing, presented by Hagerty Motorsports, where the cars aren't real, but the sim racing is the racing is the action, is the competition, is the just general raciness, all very much real, just the same, courtesy of our folks at PCA Sim Racing and iRacing, and for this Sport Class Pirelli. You're watching coverage from Podium Esports at the PCA Sim Racing Zone Group Challenge from the virtual Road America. We'll be back with more in just a moment.